Boom.
Boom.
Sup?
What's up, dude?
Here with my bro Riverstone.
My bro Simon.
Frisbee brother.
Mm.
What's good, homie?
Dude, life is good.
Show the
Yeah.
nice Frisbee.
Yeah.
We did some Frisbee customization here at Portal. I think this is like the best one I've seen. And it's yours, so it makes sense.
Thank you. Thank you. I think people had some pretty beautiful ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. But nice to get the whole collection, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good to play with this one earlier. We finally got some throws in today.
Yeah.
Not that we didn't before, but like some more proper ones.
Mm.
And this one, I don't know. There's something special about it. It's got like it has the optics when you throw it.
Yeah.
The cross has this asymmetric rotational pattern that it makes or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't quite figure it out. I think also like the way that the bottom of the rim is white and this part is green, so then you're getting like this double morph of color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Justice. For me, it's Justice Frisbee,
Justice.
because you know the band, right?
Yeah.
So with the cross. Or Jesus Frisbee, whatever.
Jesus.
Yeah, this is maybe a good point. I mean, you are like a very Frisbee forward character. Some people have called you Frisbee Pope, Frisbee philosopher, Frisbee prophet.
Pilgrim as well. I like
Frisbee Pilgrim. Yeah, that
Yeah.
suits you maybe the best. The other ones are a bit out there.
Yeah.
I think if I let my hair down, I could perceivably be Frisbee Jesus. Let's see.
Yeah. Let's
Actually,
see it.
Actually, if we do a hair down and then I can
spread the love, bro.
spread the gospel of the Frisbee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You rock it.
What is what's up with this spiritual factor of the disc?
Yeah. I think it's been there all along in the disc, you know? I think I got nerded out a while ago and went back into like the origins of both Ultimate Frisbee, then even further back into like how the Frisbee was made, and the formula that produced this is like very potent spiritually. Yeah.
What is that formula?
So if we go back a ways, the Frisbee kind of comes from this intersection of like pythons, like metal pythons that college students would throw around like Yale and these other campuses.
Pythons?
Yeah.
What's a python?
Like, well, you know, like imagine a cake goes in here, right? And then you add another tin. Like, right? So it's like what you'd buy a pie or cookies in.
Oh,
and then
python.
A tin,
oh
it's
my
like the
God,
lid.
Bro,
Yeah.
That escaped me.
Yeah.
I just heard the boys upstairs talk about Python. I was like, they're throwing. Yeah, okay, a python. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So we had pythons on one hand, and then in the I think in 1954 there was this pilot Kenneth Arnold. He was like flying, his ex-military guy. He was flying his plane around, maybe like Idaho out west or something, and he saw like a UFO sighting, one of like the first one or one of the biggest ones, where he saw like these 9 like blue dots in this like echelon formation flying around. And he like recorded them. He kind of like measured their time, like how fast they were moving, and they were 3 times faster than anything like modern technology could do. And so he landed, he like filed this report, and he described that the way they moved was like a saucer flying over the water, you know. And so he was trying to describe the motion, but somehow reporters heard this, you know. They this like the flying saucer meme stuck in the reporters' minds, and then it went out into the news. And by the end of the year, there was like 800 reported sightings of flying saucers in the sky. And then there's this really beautiful graphic I found that shows like all the classic UFO flying saucer imagery of like the 1970s, 80s sci-fi. All of that is downstream of this guy like making this report about them moving like flying saucers.
Sorry, what does this mean? Like, does this mean that people received like a pattern recognition and saw many more actual UFOs, or something else that I'm not getting?
I don't know. That's as good a guess as any, I would say. Yeah.
What do you think it means? Why did sightings go up, or why specifically?
I think probably pattern recognition makes sense. The sort of like once you learn a new term or whatever, you start seeing it everywhere.
Right.
So like, you know, this flying saucer was introduced, and I guess it's like a really familiar object. You know, like people had saucers in their house, right? But then it's like in a totally different, you know, dimension. And then the novelty of like aliens and so all that intrigue, like I think it made it really crystal.
Right.
Yeah.
And that you're saying that's also where that's the origin of the Frisbee?
Yeah. So basically, as I understand the story, this guy Fred Morrison came along and he kind of captured this vein of intrigue in the flying saucer UFO phenomenon, and he saw people throwing around the pie tins. And at Yale, there was this company that was called the Frisbee Pie Company. So this is where Frisbee comes from. It was actually just a dude's name who owned a pie shop.
Frisbee was somebody's name.
Frisbee was someone's name, but it was spelled differently. It was spelled with a IE at the end instead of EE.
Oh,
Yeah.
Frisbee.
Frisbee.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I can imagine it as a name, yeah.
But if you can imagine this guy walking around, seeing people throwing around these metal tins and like having this meme of the flying saucer in his head that people were obsessed about, and he kind of goes, oh, like we could probably make that out of plastic, like make a better version of that and sell it.
Make a dedicated sports object so you don't have to make your grandma angry by throwing around her pie tins.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or scare people into thinking you're throwing snakes around when you talk about throwing pie tins.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay, so this guy, what was his name?
Fred Morrison.
He went to the Frisbee Pie Company.
Yeah.
And was like, can you make those? Or
not quite. I think he took the idea from them, or like he took that inspiration. The first one he created was like the Arcane Valve or something was the title. And then that did okay. And then a couple years later, he made the Pluto platter, which is still like connecting it to outer space. Like he was on that. And the Pluto platter did really well. And sometime in the early 60s, he met the Whammo founders, like the people who made the hula hoop. And they bought the rights for the Frisbee from him. And that was when like the Frisbee was like introduced.
In the 60s.
Yeah.
Damn.
As we know it. Yeah.
Hey, that's amazing, Doc. So this is basically a UFO.
This is basically alien technology.
Fuck off. That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's news to me. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So we're having a play toy that's why children love it. Because it's like has this magical, unearthly, illogical flight like that has something.
Yeah, the other day when I was throwing around with Brent here, he said something like the Frisbee wants to fly straight, and it does. The Frisbee wants to fly, like it.
Yeah.
And I noticed like birds get really spooked by it.
Yeah.
And it's like it triggers their brain, like they think it's like an object, or they're not more an object. They think it's like a predator. And for a while, I was like, it kind of makes sense. Like, birds are stupid, right? But I'm also like, maybe like when the Frisbee is released, it actually is an entity that has like will, because it has will invested into it, and the birds just recognize that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So let's talk about a bit about the magic of Frisbee.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Because you just said, and well, I mean, I think we were talking a bit, we were comparing a bit. I think I thought a lot about, like, I like Frisbee a lot, and I've been playing it a lot.
Yeah.
My dad is a Frisbee player, and he basically, when we got to know each other a bit more than 10 years ago now, because we got to know each other late, or were reintroduced or found each other again, whatever. Then on one of our first meetings, this is what we did, and it was like, and that first session that we played, I can remember it. I have a picture of it too, and I didn't know how to play, so I had to get into it. But it was like obvious that it was important, obvious to me, and since then I've been playing, and it's like one of my favorite forms of movement. And I thought a lot about it. My dad also introduced me to the I Ching, the Chinese Book of Changes, the Oracle.
Word.
And one time we were talking about Frisbee and the I Ching at the same time. And sometimes we get a bit confused, but with both things you would call it throwing, because in the I Ching you throw an I Ching because you throw the coins.
Yeah.
And you throw a Frisbee, obviously.
Right.
So we were like talking about, I think he was talking I Ching, I was talking Frisbee, and then it's like, we had a long time where we were saying words about different things that applied to both.
Mm.
Like, yeah, you throw, and then somehow it picks up on your will, and it's like, and then it goes where you kind of want it to go. Like, it still applies to both.
Oh,
And
shoot.
at some point, I started talking about curvature, and he was like, "What are you talking about, son?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean Frisbee." He was like, "Oh no, I'm talking to Ching." And I'm like, "Oh." But there's a very funny
That's great. Yeah.
thing of throwing.
So you two were like in the same conversation and didn't even realize that you were talking about different sides,
Yeah.
different things.
And I
Wow.
think these are like the two distinctly magic objects that, or magical powers I got from my dad, and I consider them both extremely magic. And I want to ask you how you see it, because you've got a lot more elaborate, I would say, narrative about Frisbee and a lot more specifics. And you just brought up that you kind of infuse the disc with a will when you throw it. I mean, you sort of, for me, that's part of the amazing thing, that you, if you know how to throw, if your body knows how to throw, you can just will it to its destination, and the less effort you put into the throw, the better it lands usually.
Yeah.
And so on and so on. So
yeah, I mean, it just strikes me as an amazing thing. Like, I think there's no better delivery vehicle for information, right? Because we've talked about how the Frisbee is conversation, right? The Frisbee is this.
And we can get into that. Just because we talked about it off air, I think we shouldn't deprive
we should
the air
circle
of,
there.
Yeah.
But just like to get into this, I had this idea, which is inspired like a science fiction story I want to write, or I've been writing. But this idea of like, if you can invest or imbue the Frisbee with some meaning, like some symbol, some intent. The idea is like you have it, and then you pass it to someone, you will it to someone, they catch it, and they like receive all of it, right? I guess on like the felt level of understanding, they can like know what you mean. And if you know how to throw the Frisbee, you can hit someone 10, 20, 30, 40 yards away with like total transfer of understanding. And there's very, very little in life I find is as precise or like potent as that. This ability to like actually deliver what you mean and like put it in a space where someone can receive it.
When you talk about this, do you mean, like, can you disentangle a bit what you mean by what you mean? Like, so I get the part where you have this as a physical object, and you throw it from your hands and somebody catches it, but it's not completely obvious to me what you mean by this understanding layer. I think there's something that I don't have a grasp on yet. Would you care to elaborate?
Sure. Yeah. So what I'm thinking of is going back to the idea of the conversation, right? And that like right now I'm occupying a position here and you're occupying a position there. There's this interval of distance, that separates us. That's natural. And the Frisbee is like a raft almost, a vessel that we could use to cross, right? We can like find ourselves together in this space. And so I think a good metaphor is actually the Pokemon Ditto, the one that transforms, yeah. So the first,
the one that always has to take it all from everybody. You put it into the Pokemon pension, and it's like, here's a Squirtle, and it's like Ditto.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's a Charizard. Ditto. Make some eggs, bro.
Ditto, yeah. Ditto becomes what it sees. So the very first Frisbee project, I put a Ditto sticker on it, and the concept wasn't even intentional, but the concept became like, oh, you hold the Frisbee, Ditto sees you, Ditto, like the Frisbee becomes you, then you give yourself to the other person, they receive you, and the act of receiving you, Ditto then becomes them. And so it's like this transference of identity. Communication.
Right.
Yeah.
And have you had, so we get it in terms of like the intention of throwing the Frisbee and catching it and so on. Have you had experiences in throwing a disc with somebody that where the connection got deeper, or where you actually received different, like palpably different sort of information from someone through the act of passing or throwing or tossing the Frisbee back and forth?
Yeah. I find it's mostly the subverbal stuff that speaks the loudest, right? Like, the memory that's strongest in my head is when I was in 2022. I was in Italy. I was farming for a few months, and then I had these like 3 just magical nights in Rome, and I basically just walked around the city with a frisbee in my hands at all the times, and I was just tossing it and playing by myself.
Yeah.
And throughout the night, people would just like call out for the frisbee. Like people would just ask for, and I would throw to them. And all of a sudden, this total stranger who spoke a different language would just like we would suddenly have a relationship, and it was this relationship of play and mutual understanding and movement, right? This embodied relationship. And it happened the whole night. I just kept making friends, and like at one point, I was in a piazza, and one person called out. I threw the frisbee, and their whole friend group just unfolded into a circle, and all of a sudden I had 10 friends around me, and I was like, what the fuck is like what else on earth can do that, you know?
What else on earth can do
What
that?
else could do that? Like I was just making friends with like with ease. I mean, I didn't have to rush it or force it. I just was playing by myself. People saw I was playing. They understood it to be an invitation, and they called for it, and I gave it to them. And so like that's the main thing is like, and I found this in Japan too. Like it works across the world. If you have a frisbee, it's this symbol of play. It's an invitation, and you can connect with people even if you don't speak the same language because the frisbee is its own language.
Okay, now I got it.
Yeah.
I mean, for real. And I know this experience, but wanted to hear how you see it. Yeah, dude, this is crazy, right? This is really true.
It's nuts. Yeah.
It's a frisbee is like a dog, but you don't have to feed it. And the frisbee also shows that you got that dog in you. Right?
It shows you got
like
the dog.
You've got a frisbee dangling with the clip, or you just have it dangling in your hand.
Yeah.
And I've done this a lot too. Walk through Berlin, especially with the frisbee in my hand, and just toss in, and sometimes standing, practicing some freestyle throws, some balancing moves, and people look at you. I mean, people usually look at me anyway because I have a bit of an appearance, but people look at you differently, kindly, right? Like a person with a dog or a person with a child, because you're sort of carrying both that dog that you got in you and the child that you got in you. You're carrying it in the disc.
Yeah.
The playfulness, the willingness to run, the willingness to serve. Because once you're beholden to the frisbee, you serve it because you have to run after it. I have no run after 0 women, people, or money like I've run after a frisbee, right? And and sometimes people are like, "Hey, yo," and then you have a toss, and I can have the picture in front of me how that group of people unfolded, and suddenly you've got a game, you know. And then
a game.
The best thing is when people know how to play. It's also great when people are just want to fuck around a bit, but the greatest thing is the courage of the people to do it and to interact in public in a different way.
Yeah.
That's why I particularly like throwing, like where we threw earlier, in public where people can see you. I always feel like when I play, it's like an excuse mechanism to like dance and to.
Yeah.
Some people just dance in public, like my friend Nibras or whatever. They just let it rip, but. It's like, you can play on the street. If you're good, it's amazing because you don't endanger anybody because your throws hit.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. It's such an invitation and such an opener.
Yeah. It's so accessible too, right? Like I think this is something I'd like to talk to you about is like how quick people can learn the frisbee and that like it's 160, 170 grams of plastic and it's all you need to have fun with. Like you don't need cleats, you don't need gear, like just a frisbee.
Yeah.
Just the disc. And like, you talked about this, right? Like, what's been your experience of teaching people to play like?
It's been great. I think the way my dad taught me was very impactful. And then I learned how to teach a bit better through. I did 1 or 2 tryouts with ultimate teams in Berlin, which didn't hold. It's not for me, but I received some good coaching there in the 1 or 2 sessions that I had. And from there, I found my own way to teach people. I think basically to I think I usually start with bodily stance.
Mm.
That most people start with backhand because it's the most natural, easiest throw.
Yeah.
And then that you know, that basically how we're sitting now, if you're watching the video, I'm like standing with my side to you, and I'm not curling the frisbee in front of me or something, but I go to the side where I have space.
Right.
That's I think most people don't. I remember how it felt for me in the beginning. Where is the coil? Where's the curl? How do I get the frisbee to spin? And it feels unnatural, like any movement you're not used to.
Right. Yeah.
But then if you stand sideways, I think, and you look over your shoulder and you throw like that, then people get it really quickly. If you then tell them about angles and how to correct when they overcurve, undercurve, like many people in the beginning have like a overly outside oriented throw, so it just falls over. Just tell them, so relax, hold it lower, so it can lean into the wind, and you teach them a bit more to throw inside. Yeah, and then and that's it. Those are the two things. Lower, like stand sideways, lower your arm, and then you do 50 throws.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah.
And it always works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And the right distance. I think it's very harmful to start standing away too far, because force in the throw oversteers it.
Right, and that'll slow down the learning.
Yeah. And you?
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar. Like, part of when I actually became like reinvigorated by Frisbee was when I returned to my old high school after I graduated college, and I went back to teach. And I just brought all my Frisbees because I was like, why not? So I brought a stack of like 10 Frisbees, and I just kind of made them public to the students.
Right.
And I taught some of them how to throw, and then like I would just watch the summer unfold, and like kids would just be out there like throwing Frisbees like all through the day, and like I was like, this is like such an effortless way to increase the joy in this vicinity, you know. And that's kind of the main thing I see is like it's very simple. It's like effortless joy. That like it comes out again from that space between us.
Yeah.
So I'm just amazed by it. Like I'm in awe, really.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah. And I think the one thing I want, which feels like is already naturally happening, but just is like making the Frisbee more common, and more accessible, because it does take some courage to like throw it in the beginning. It's like scary to kind of catch this like missile, basically, you know. It's just like the missile coming at you, and then I think there's a lot of fear of just like fucking up, either just like looking bad, making people's time worse because you're not completing passes, or potentially like hitting people who are not playing.
Yeah.
All these sort of fear UG fields, right?
Yeah.
But with just like a little bit of, you know, time and care, you can like really lean into fucking up, like enjoy it for what it is, and like within hours even you can get to like a whole nother realm of ability, and you just keep playing and you keep going up, and it becomes like this super effortless way to enjoy yourself and connect with people.
And you get into this state of flow that I would call conversational.
Yeah.
Where if you find, you know, it's so important for me to stop thinking, like, or like with all things flow, you have to, the thinking has to be in step with your moving. If the thoughts are far ahead of your movements, you're not going to get anywhere, right? Like now I'm talking to you and I'm not really thinking ahead. I'm in lockstep with my words. Thinking and speaking is the same thing right now. And that's what you get in when you're in any smooth flowing activity, conversation, and also with Frisbee. And that's where it gets good, when you play with a beginner as well.
Yeah.
You don't have to be good, because good doesn't mean anything. You just have to be conversational.
Exactly.
It's like with the language.
Yeah.
We're here in Portugal. Can't say that my Portuguese is of any conversational measure, but if it were, I found it when I was in Morocco earlier this year, and suddenly my school French got me conversational. Like, I'm Simon, we want to use the bathroom. How are you? How's your day? Oh, that's nice. And then make even jokes, because I have like enough like Latin language basics or whatever. I'm like, holy shit, I'm conversational. I'm like, it's a bit and the throws are a bit and they're like a bit short, and like the other person has to like, where is he throwing? Okay. And that's what we talked about, that I would like to bring here, where Frisbee is like unbelievably conversational, and a huge metaphor for me for listening, understanding,
Yeah.
I throw to you. If it goes straight to you, it's an easy catch for you. It's just up to you to grab the low-hanging fruit. Sort of. If I throw within distance from you, you do a few steps. If I throw far away from you, you might not get it unless you really want to and you lunge for it, which you did earlier.
Yeah.
And you do a real, and I'm like, holy shit! And I feel like the love in me that you did a dive for whatever mediocre throw, like 20 minutes into the game, you know. And I'm like, okay, he really did an effort there to receive that throw, to understand that sentence, you know.
Yeah.
That I thought was garbled, but you're like, no, I know what you mean.
Yo.
You know?
Yeah. And when you shared that idea, or just like that like graceful understanding of like moving to the mark, like moving to the wherever that like volley of conversation has gone, right? And rather than just like letting it slide by or like choosing to ignore it, which you always can do, but like using Frisbee as a metaphor of like, yeah, like moving into that space, like meeting your partner with grace. I mean, like, yeah, I want to understand you, I want to receive you, and building that like mutuality, right? That trust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's another thing that I just thought of is where you know, I play with somebody, maybe they're not that practiced yet, or actually doesn't matter with whomever you play. If you look at the person in the moment of the throw with the sort of practiced eye, you know where the throw is going to go, right? Because I can see you set up the throw and you're here, okay, it's going to be an outside throw, it's going to come that way. You're down here, you're in a forehand, you're low, you're high. You know, I can see your angle.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I can see where you're coming from, right? And
yes.
that's also a very conversational thing where it's like, maybe the result is a bit hard to get for me, but because I see where you're coming from, even while you're spinning up the sentence, the flight of the Frisbee, I can already adjust to it, to the context of it, to where you're coming from.
Yeah. And so there's two things going on there which are related. There's one, as a receiver, you like see where the person is coming from, but as the person with the disc, or like the one who is voicing this, you also see like where they're going, right? Like you see where the person is moving, and maybe this is more so in like Ultimate Frisbee than Park.
Oh, for sure.
Right. But in Ultimate, we talk about like throwing people into space, right? Because you have a defender chasing you, so you can't actually throw it at them because the defender will be there and they'll stop it.
Right.
So you need to throw the Frisbee to where they will be.
That's right.
And to me, it's so beautiful. This is because it's like you need to like understand how your person is moving, like where they are, where they want to go.
Right.
And then you get to like shape the trajectory of the Frisbee and match it to shape their trajectory and curl it into each other. And it's just the most exquisite, beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's when you see like Ultimate highlights and somebody is doing like an end zone throw and it's like and then somebody that you don't even see in the beginning of the video for whom the throw is just bolting to the thing.
Comes
and
out.
Last moment like catches it, right?
Yeah.
And throwing people into space, which is for me what I also do when I do like coaching with people. Because I listen to them long enough to observe them and see where they are and maybe where they want to go, or maybe where they think they should go but don't even want to, you know. And then the words I throw at them is like throwing sort of ahead of them into space, right? That's also like, that's a bit of more competitive conversation, you know, a little bit more pressure,
advancing.
Like, so to catch that sentence you really have to run, but if you run for it and you get it, it's going to be good for everybody.
Yeah. And I just love this because it's like, I mean, the world's not still, right? Everything's in motion. And so like learning, if you take this metaphor of the Frisbee and then apply it to like relationships and conversations, it's like, how do I, like, am I paying attention to where people are and where they're going? Like, how do I then throw them into space? Like, how do I support them, you know, going where they need to go, where they want to go? And a lot of that is listening. Like, a lot of that is the attunement. And but then it's also building up your basic like vocabulary, your basic moves.
That's right. So we talked about how one big thing, the thing that I read you earlier in the spot, is like where you adjust conversation mid-conversation, where you're like, hey, maybe we can talk to each other a bit better.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do a live version of this in which I will ask you to move the mic a bit more so that it matches. Like when you turn your head, the mic that will make it easier for the audio editing. Yeah. But you can do this too with a lot of other things, like when you want somebody to have like in a conversation when you're exasperated or something. When you play Frisbee, you're like, I need some shorter throws. I need some longer throws. Throw me a hard one. I want to run, you know? Like, okay, challenge me on this, you know? All these I wonder if I just ate a fly. Sorry. All these like signpostings that help you throw to each other, speak to each other the way you actually want to. Like I would like to have a difficult throw from you that I have to run for. That's gonna do me good. I need to do some running. Or hey, go easy on me. Or hey, I don't understand what you're saying. And all these adjustments that in the physical realm, they're kind of obvious because it's more obvious that okay, he can't run right now. Or no. But often in conversation, we misunderstand each other. And that's like just throwing the Frisbee, like it's impossible to explain. It's not logical when you think about a strong misunderstanding in a Frisbee context. It just doesn't check out.
Right. Well, it's because it's like direct communication, right? There's like, it's very like you said, there's like truth in every throw. And it's just out there, it's visible. Whereas I feel in conversation often we are doing like layers and layers of processing, and then there's like a lot going on, and so it's like maybe I want you to like for example, like I want you to like move a little bit further away, but like I don't want to say that because I want to offend you, so I'm gonna like say something else that's like over here, hoping you like interpret it that way. But then you don't, and then like this resentment builds, and so it's like it's this direct relational practice.
People talk and they work through something, they talk to themselves, so they like throw to themselves. And then the other person is like, I have a feeling this person isn't talking to me at all. You know, before you know that that's even a possibility that people do that, and maybe you're yelling at them because you want the fucking Frisbee, you want to play with them, right? You're standing like you're gonna play with each other, but one person is just like you know, like throwing to themselves. I mean, so many things. I think this is a real banger, this Frisbee and conversation. Maybe we should do a little write-up on it.
I think so.
It seems like the thing we came up with here together while we were here. That's good.
It's good stuff.
We have time. Anything else coming to your mind right now?
Nothing's jumping right now. There's a lot in there though.
Yeah.
What about you?
I want to ask you about we can switch gears a bit because we went deep into the Frisbee lore, and we can, if anything comes up, I think we have it available now, very well established as why we think it's good and goated. And
right.
I'm curious about you. I always like to talk about the people a bit that I'm talking with because I actually don't know that much about you yet. We're here in Porto at the wonderful event Portal, which has, for all intents and purposes, been a great portal into many possibilities. We're for the video watchers, there's a house here that's gonna get torn down, so we like painted the walls, or some of us did, and a new like art project is being set up and whatnot, and people have just been going ham in expressive modes. How did you get here? What's your journey to be in this relatively blessed place?
Yeah, relatively blessed, right? Man. Yeah, it was an interesting summer. I might write a little piece about this summer, and if I do, I would call it the summer of immaculate conception because because
Nice.
nothing I've done has been my plan. Like, it's just stuff has opened, right? But like basically, I guess I've been in the Teapot ecosystem, drawing closer for like 2 years.
Yeah.
I went to Vibe Camp 2 last year.
Yeah.
And
Can I
then
interrupt you and ask
yeah.
you how you first found out about Teapot?
Sure, yeah. First found out. I guess first found out. I got on Twitter only 2 years ago. That was indirectly. It was because of David Perel and Tiago Forte. I was like into the writing second brain sphere. And then I met this one guy, Nick Torba, and we had our first call. It was my first ever Twitter call. And he was like, yo, do you know this guy VisaCon? And I was like, no, who's that? And he was like, big man. And I just steadily slid in from there.
Yeah.
Stuff started accelerating after Vibe Camp. That was also like unplanned miracle. Like I came back from 3 months in Japan and a month at a monastery, which was also unplanned miracle. And then I sent out a tweet and I was like, I think I should go to Vibe Camp, or like I feel like I'm supposed to go there. And then I got like a DM from like the Vibe Camp account. I think it was Brooke, and like got a ticket and got a ride, and like it just all came together.
Wow.
And that's how it just keeps happening like that. Like it's just, I don't really make plans. It's just like stuff opens and I'm like, that's what I'll do. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And how did you, because you normally live in the US, right? So
yeah.
what made you come over to Europe and Portugal?
Right. So I live in like Western Massachusetts, like 2 hours from Boston, which is a lovely space. And I was there the past year. I actually went back this spring. I coached the boys varsity ultimate team at my old high school.
Great.
Which was wild. I like to fill kind of the shoes of my old coach who had been there for like 20 years.
Amazing.
Yeah. And he had a great season. Really, I loved the boys were just terrific, That's so much fun. And then I thought actually was trying to work at NMH for the next 2 years. I applied for this master's program, which is like 2 years, teach English, get your master's, bang, and I was a finalist. I thought I was locked in. They kept saying they were really keen on me, and they had to push back because the other guy was, pushing back his interview. And then at the like very end, like late May, they're like, "Sorry, we chose the other person." And I was just like, I was actually really angry because I was like, yo, like I've been building a relationship with you guys for like 10 years. Like I can't believe you would not choose me.
Yeah.
But that anger faded, and I realized I had like an open summer, an open life all of a sudden. And around this time I had a call with Sheik, because I read his manifesto and I was like, this guy's cool.
Yeah.
And like a week after I got rejected, he posted Portal, and I was like, whoa, like I could just go to Europe now. Like I could just vibe with people, and I actually have saved some good money, so I was like, all right, why not? Then there's nothing else. So that, my plan went like that, and in the openness, I was like, Portal's there, and just followed that.
Great.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, for me it was funny too, because I'm here with my girlfriend Julia, and first time we're like at sort of a TPOT vibey event together, and it was the perfect one because we both have work to do, and she's an artist and animator, and fits right in, both in sitting down for work, but also for doing random artsy shit, or not so random artsy shit, just doing artsy shit.
Just be an artist. Yeah.
Exactly. And and Brent asked me, are you going to Portal? And I was like, I don't know, money, time, work, this and that. And he was like, yeah, but come, a little bit of pressure is good sometimes, as I've learned yesterday, also from Heidi. She was like, yeah, so should I come to 3 week? I was like, yeah, but no pressure. She was like, actually, I want some pressure. And I was like, oh, say less, come,
Yeah.
let's go. And but yeah, anyway, and then Julia was like, when I told her about this, she was like, I think we have to go. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, we must go. Like, voices speaking through her, like, we must go to Portal. It's like, babe. She's like, what? I'm like, you were possessed just now. No, and she had this strong, I loved this. She was so strong about it. She was like, I want to be there with you. We must go.
Wow.
And then, so we had this wonderful summer Porto vacation. And I love this city. It's so good. I mean, I've been both Porto and Lisbon a couple of times, but I love Porto so much more.
It's a good
I
city.
vibe with this place like crazy. Yeah. And we went. So now, almost at the end of 2 weeks of both a vacation and a very productive time here. And great new friends. And I love that you brought like, what did you buy? Like 20 Frisbees at some point?
20 Frisbees. Yeah. Portal Blossoms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's basically been fucking Frisbee week. And for me, that's like so great because normally I'm the only idiot with the Frisbee and I don't have the...
there's two.
No, there's two. And now there's automatically more.
Yeah.
And because we're building scaffolding for Frisbee love, you know?
Frisbee love.
And I'm normally not so intent on... I would just want to play with people, but then sometimes, again, I don't want to pressure them or something. I mean, I do, but I don't. But I think you had such a great way of just making the Frisbee an extremely commonplace object. I thought it was hilarious to see people walk around with like their notebooks and pens, just like carrying them in a Frisbee, just like everybody
sandwiches.
has this. What's going on? You really brought that.
Yeah, well, you said something like intensely practical is a way to describe the Frisbee.
Yeah.
This is how I feel. Like I don't know any item that's more practical in existence because it's like it works so well to carry things. Like I don't know. Are you a D&D guy, like Dungeons and Dragons?
I mean, I have dabbled, but
dabbled in. You know, in these games, like the weapons cost like a hand. There's like one-handed weapons or two-handed weapons.
Yeah.
Right. How many items like expand the size of your hand?
Whoa.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, damn, that's true.
Yeah.
It does expand. It's like a huge palm.
Yeah, and again, it weighs 170 grams or less.
Yeah.
It's a huge palm. So you can fill stuff in it. You can flip it, right, and like use it as a table, as like a clipboard. Actually, I don't know if I've shared this with you. So I have two metaphors I try to live by that are inspired by the Frisbee, which are open book and empty table. An open book is just like I want to be, like an open book that people can read and understand and then join me in like writing the story of life together.
Yeah.
But empty table, this is when I view the Frisbee, this upside down way, which we've kind of described as like the yin form.
Yeah.
I also view this as literally an empty table, and an empty table is an invitation to sit down. Anyone can join an empty table.
Yes.
Right. And if you flip it over, then it's like a round table, and you have a dialogue around it, which everyone's equal, so it functions in both of these ways.
That's great. Can you say this one more time and again make it a bit more practical or exemplary? Like, what's the open table? What's the
open book, empty table.
Open. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's just for me. Open book again is like, imagine for me, I like putting myself into the Frisbee, making it open, accessible, and living with this metaphor of the empty table is like, how do you respond to people? How do you attune to people? How do you invite people into the space you're in? When I see it like this, it's like very clearly, it's just like receptive. It's listening. It's like holding space in a way that invites people to join.
Yeah, and maybe you can talk about, because obviously you showed me I've never seen this intense form of Frisbee customization. Neither side, and I think this one is a perfect example because it has I think you also call it the stable broadcast sometime.
Yeah.
So it has the face sort of the Frisbee, which is an artwork now, and it's very expressive, but it doesn't really change. I mean, you made it into something, right? Like,
right.
Of course, you can scribble on this, but that's not really the point.
Yeah.
But this yin side of it is essentially a whiteboard, and that's completely new to me.
Yeah, I mean, it literally, like, you can use whiteboard markers on this, and then you can just, like, with a bit of alcohol or even your spit works perfect.
Yeah.
You can wipe it off.
Yeah.
So that's, like you said, is one side is this yang, like, stable broadcast, a message, artwork to the world.
It's character, established sort of shape.
Exactly, established shape. And on the other side, you can whiteboard, you can brainstorm, you can carry.
You can change.
It's a plastic. Plastic is a synonym for change. So this is a plastic container. It's an infinite container, which isn't that useful unless you apply your creativity to it and shrink it to fit what you want to capture and contain.
Yeah, and that goes super hard. I mean, for me, that's like both in playing with you and in seeing your work around the Frisbee, like the kind of creative and spirited work around it, that like expanded my how I see the Frisbee like 2 or 3 times, like magnitudes have opened up, and respect for that. That's fire. That's fire.
I appreciate that, bro.
So you want to share a bit about the portal blossoms we did, where we used sort of the insights of the Frisbee and writing on and around the. Do you just want to share that project a bit?
So the Portal Blossoms project was the initial idea was to start with our stories and like retell our life stories as myths, and this happened in week 1 and 2, and then the idea was coming up with a symbol, right, a coat of arms sort of that carries a lot of significance for you that you want to bring into the world, putting that on the stable broadcast. And then on the inside, we kind of explored all the possibilities. And the most common one, the most sort of popular one, is to use the inside of the Frisbee as a compass or a map. And we kind of pulled from Bill Plotkin's like Hero's Journey Eco-Soul-Centric Wheel development, which uses the cardinal directions and it maps them over with these like core archetypes of human life. And so people created their compasses like this so that every time you toss the Frisbee, you can actually do a divination reading, like you brought up the I Ching.
Yeah.
So with the Portal Blossoms, we essentially transformed the Frisbees into divination devices that are customizable.
Yeah. And I think also to open the possibility space there, and I think factually a bit more. I mean, for example, I didn't turn mine into a divination thing, but I think I use it in that one thing we did together. I just used it for the first time. I just wrote on a Frisbee for the first time.
Yeah, just writing.
And I have this everything is scaffolding for love meme going right now as I'm writing this book about the village, and there's also a bit of divination and sort of identity building, finding work in there. And I just wrote spirals of everything is. I did 6 because always the village has 6 domains, and I think the 6 is good also with the I Ching hexagrams, and then 6 sort of quadrants, hexatrons, whatever,
hexagonal.
Then putting everything as scaffolding for love, which is 5 words, so it kind of like folds into each other, so you can read it vertically as well. And but just to make an artwork out of a Frisbee is mind-blowing to me. I don't know why. I feel so stupid. I'm like, hey, for me, like, I'm the bare bones guy, I've got this Frisbee. I like this too. I love things in their original state. Yeah. That's also for me an open book, an empty table, and this is just a Frisbee. This is not customized. This is my brand new orange 160 freestyler.
Beautiful.
I'm like very happy to have it. And, and it has character like that. You can just, I think you can, even without customizing, you can just put so much will and joy into a thing just by playing it. But customizing this stuff goes hard. It's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's sublime either way, no matter what you do with it. But it is like starting to realize, like, in a lot of ways, the Frisbee feels like a cell, like literally a cell of intelligence, because it can receive, contain, and transmit information. And it's like, that's just stunning to me.
Yeah.
And again, like by nature of its like shape, and like most of the Frisbees, but many Frisbees are white, so it strikes me as like clearly a canvas, as a whiteboard. It's something you can work on, carry around, like fan yourself, like it's just like
you can throw the dice in it if you're playing D&D.
Yeah, you can keep stuff inside, throw the dice, like it's the only limit is the creativity you bring to the Frisbee.
That's great. I really love that you go hard on this. I'm glad I'm not the biggest Frisbee fan I know anymore. And it's definitely you right now, and you're like putting that to work. And yeah, it's sublime, and it's a UFO, it's a coin, it's a yin and yang representation. It turns into all directions depending on how you throw it, and it's a real arbiter. It's a true medium.
True medium.
It's
Ooh.
only it only really makes sense in between, in the place of love.
Yeah.
You wrote me the poem earlier.
Yeah.
You can't two teams chase the Frisbee, but neither are supposed to keep it.
Yeah. Chasing after something you can't keep.
You can never keep that.
Yeah.
And so you have to keep it in the middle, and yeah, that's the way of the middle, the way of the in-between.
The way of the in-between
is the way.
is the way,
I think
brother.
that's very beautiful.
Yeah.
Where are you going with this? Where's Frisbee Magic gonna take you, and what are your future plans? Because I know you're serious about this, and you're not just, you're a serious wizard when it comes to the Frisbee, and I think you plan to teach, and you're not just messing around with this. I really appreciate this about you, that you're very serious about this and very earnest and open book about it.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious where you're going to take this and what your visions are.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate that question. Yeah. So yeah, I'm basically heading back home to Western Mass. There's this eco-village intentional community called Sirius out in the Amherst area, and I'm connecting with them. And my goal for this season is to build a bridge between Sirius and Fractal, New York.
Wow.
I'm also planning to move into Fractal, maybe in September. And so I see these as two really beautiful locations with beautiful people, and I see a very symbiotic kind of cross-pollination just waiting to happen. So I'm going to just keep playing with the Frisbee when I move to Fractal, bringing in a Frisbee course through the Fractal University. And I have 2 writing projects that are revolving around the Frisbee. One is in this world, and the other is a parallel universe. And I just want to play and have fun. Yeah.
Word.
Yeah.
I want to stop soon, but it's just coming to me. So you're saying you're connecting this serious eco village with Fractal, and so that means also that you're connecting sort of your home with the internet teapot magical world.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's right. It's a little funky, yeah. I mean, it's like I don't know what'll happen, but I suspect it'll be good because there's good people on both sides.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you're somebody who is from somebody. You have a home, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's your home like, and what does it mean to
you? Home is peace, bro. Home is peace. Like, I grew up in the pine trees and maples and like streams and ponds. I grew up with my grandparents living 20 minutes away. They still are there. They've lived with this like open door kind of household rule. So they have this huge network of friends and family. So blessed, man. Cause like every Saturday of my life growing up, we would go over to my grandparents and have these stone, like hand ground waffles with the Stone family, and like 3 or 4 different branches of the family would just converge, and some friends would come in, and we'd just feast on waffles with peanut butter and like homemade apple rhubarb sauce and homemade maple syrup, and we just feast and celebrate life. And so that's home to me. It's the woods, it's family, it's celebrating existing, right? Celebrating life. It's so wholesome, man. And I want to start inviting like these beautiful friends and angels from around the world. I want to invite them into that world, and let it just resound, compound, go out.
That's great.
Yeah.
Second time you're making me cry today. What's going on? I asked you this because I can feel this in you, this I think I have it too, but in a bit of a different way, because a lot of my stuff was broken down, and feel like I had to like build it, you know. But I'm a homie, you know.
Yeah, bro.
And it's and you are too, and you. It's really great, you know. I really enjoyed cooking with you yesterday, and I could feel it in there, you know. This just this home, and yeah, we have to feed the people, and the fridge is too full. We have to like serve starters and so on, and it's yeah, it was. Yeah, I really love this, you know. And I think Julia as well. She's from a place in Poland with the grandparents around and the self-made nature vibes, and I think it's something that I'm like intensely drawn to and intensely striving for, because I feel like it's through the ways life goes been taken a bit from me, but I need it, you know. It's like the generational way has a bit like you know, taking a bit of a detour, and I'm like, no, skirt back to the main road, you know. Like and this that's, you know, what Tree Week is. It's like this place of, yeah, where I want everybody to be together, you know. And I don't care how good, you know, how well people know each other yet, or maybe some people had some trouble with each other or something, and I'm just like, yeah, but you just gotta come back together, you know.
Yeah.
And eat together and have a yeah, just every Saturday or whatever. I'm meeting with my young brother every Sunday, you know. You just have to be together.
Yeah. It's the most beautiful thing, man.
And I am really glad you're here in this. And you said that you maybe want to host like some sort of get together or vibey camp or week or whatever. And yeah, I think that I would assume you want to do that close to your home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's great. I think a lot of these internet people that we're surrounded by, I feel like many are a bit homeless. I certainly feel it.
Yeah.
You might be like well situated at home, but philosophically homeless, or well situated philosophically, but like physically homeless. But usually there's some sort of it, and I don't want to over like lay it on too thick, but I feel like you're kind of neither. You just have this blessing of a good predecession, you know.
Yeah.
Come from good hands, and I think that spirit is really rare, and you can't make that up, you know.
Yeah.
You have it or you don't, and so it's great that you share it.
Thank you, bro. Yeah. Yeah, you honor me, man. Really. Yeah. I think that there's a time, like high school, you know, there's like the going out in the world has helped me get the perspective, because there's a time I didn't see it, you know, there's a time I kind of ran from it, but now I'm like increasingly realizing like I can just like commit to my home and to my like being myself, and like that's enough, like that's more than enough, like that will bring more abundance, because that's what I grew up in, was just like just like love and peace and abundance, and it's like, damn, you know, it's just blessed.
Yeah. Bring it. The people need it. Everybody needs it. Yeah, Frisbee and other abundances. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Oh, and Frisbee was invented right near my home.
Actually,
actually, my high school like has a key part in the story of inventing ultimate Frisbee.
Bring it back. Bring it back to the Frisbee story. What's
So let's tie that back. So the Frisbee was made right in the '60s, early '60s. Ultimate Frisbee itself was like fomented in the summer of love, '69.
Fuck off.
Literally, I swear to God, like amidst all the shit in the U.S., like you know, the riots, the assassinations, Vietnam.
Yeah,
this is what Ultimate Frisbee comes from, and it's so beautiful. You can read this. I published a piece called "The Ultimate Game." I went back into all of this history, and the way the game emerged. It was emergent. It was this fluid thing. These guys are playing Frisbee, I think, at like Amherst College, and they literally just like intuited things, like they like intuited that it should be non-contact, like that it shouldn't be tackle, like they kind of like were about like the joy of play and the flow of the disc and
Spirit of the game.
spirit of the game, brother. Yeah, and so that's this. This emerged in response to everything that was going on that felt wrong in the culture, and Frisbee comes out of that. And there's this guy, Jared Cass, went to NMH, to my old high school, and at the summer session he like they were playing something that resembled what's now Ultimate Frisbee. A student at that summer session, Jared Silver, he learned it, went to Columbia High School in New Jersey, and that's where the first ever game of Ultimate was like documented. That's where it happened. And so like it emerged from the valley, and it emerged from love, and that's what it, like, this is the embodiment of love.
That's amazing. Yeah, it certainly is. And it told the people how it wants to be played.
Yeah.
It's literally a goddamn UFO, bro.
It's literally a damn UFO, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the values that I see in this. There's like this non-violence, there's the solidarity, right? You can't move when you have the Frisbee and Ultimate, so it's all teamwork, it's all solidarity. And the central tenet of spirit of the game is like, we're here to preserve and honor like the joy of play. It's about the joy of play. It's not about winning, right? And so you find this solidarity, this joyfulness, this care and consideration of each other. Like, you can compete really, really hard, but I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to foul you. I'm going to take care to not hurt anyone, right?
Yeah.
So it's a game, like the word that comes up for me is integrity, right? It's like, there's no officials, coaches can't talk. It's like 14 people on a field, everyone's totally equal, and you're just playing for joy, point after point.
As life should be lived.
Yeah. As life should be lived.
Great.
Oh, damn, brother.
Good talk.
Good talk, man. Bro.
Very nice.
Such a joy to meet you, man.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Been good.
Real good.
Oh, very nice. Thank you for this. And where you said you published a piece, is that on Substack?
Yeah, it's on Substack.
So when I publish this, I always put Substack and all the good links I can find in the description. So
beautiful.
People can click links and
read
it. And I hope that we will put a little piece together, maybe about Frisbee as conversation.
Yeah.
Nothing, something we already talked about, but maybe the writing will bring forth a nice form.
Yeah, new form.
Okay, thank you, man. It's been an honor.
Thank you, brother. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
I'll go off the air and just cry a bit more or something. I don't know what it is today, but
it's in the air, bro. It's in the air.
Yeah. Goodbye. Bye-bye.